Okay, so there's my Zoom mic. So then in Logic here, very simple. I just need to go to the audio settings and say the input device is the iPad, right? And then any audio track will just take input from the iPad. So I'm playing just a whacked out version of one of the cello patches over here. And let's see what else.
Oh, can I ask you to backtrack, because I'm not sure I got your initial audio for the recording.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll say it one more time. So to connect an iOS device, this is the issue. I've got an iPad or an iPhone. You go to audio MIDI setup, you connect your iOS device via the lightning cable to a USB port on your Mac, and then you enable it down there, all right? Then you go to Logic, and then you go audio, input device, then you pick the iPad. You see I've got a few choices there. Don't pick Black Hole, and don't pick those other things. I could maybe do that, but I don't care to get it wrong right now. I know this works. And then you make a new audio track, and then you have to, I guess it is a little bit nutty, but you have to hit this thing over here. You have to record it. I don't know why the solo's X'd off like that, but it is. And if you want the other thing to, any other tracks to come in at the same time, you just hit R. So there's the iPad, and then there's the keyboard at the same time. And you know it's right, of course, because you're seeing levels over there and you're seeing levels over there. So that's how to get for the iPad into Logic. Now, what's going on in QJack CTL is I have basically my Capture 1 and Capture 2, which are my mic, are going to Playback 1 and Playback 2. Then I also have 5 and 6. They're going to Playback 1 and Playback 2. 5 and 6 are sending to JackTrip and then receiving back into the system playback. 5 and 6 just happen to be the capture ports that are associated with Logic. It'd be super nice if it said Logic there, but it doesn't. And that's, I guess, just the way Black Hole works. Maybe if anybody knows if there's a way to label this stuff, that would be good. Again, I'm running Catalina over here. I'm running this version of QJack CTL, and I'm running JackTrip 1.3. So that's the basic set. Now, why I've got the instruments both going to my local playback and sending to JackTrip, and then JackTrip is also playing back. So the reason I do that is so I don't get screwed around with the haptic feedback on my instrument here when I'm playing, since I'm often trying to play rhythmic music. But if I wasn't playing in time, I probably wouldn't care. So the way it usually manifests itself is like a little extra chorus and reverb or a slapback echo if it's really bad. So that's basically it. And then this is the iPad connected in via the cable. And again, that's GeoShred there, but I could play any app. Like, let me try like the Moog Model D, for example. Or like, how about Animoog? I haven't tried this yet, so I don't know if it's going to work. Yep, it is. So there's my analog synth. So I basically just hijack the audio from the iPad. So guess that's about all I got to say about it. Anybody got any questions, let me know.
Very cool. You want to demo the virtual instruments?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's see, there's the violin. And there's a whole bunch of versions of violin presets. Basically, it's the SWAM models that I'm talking about right now. It's software audio modeling. The company is called Audio Modeling. And we integrated some of their instruments into GeoShred. The violin, the cello, tenor sax. And each of these, let me stop sharing the screen. Each of these presets over here got different features. Like if I do this finger expression there, I got like a little flutter when I go up, or a growl. If I really want to go out there. It's like a formant. And if I take the finger expression off, it'll work on the expression pad. So you can get a whole bunch of good effects here, like this portamento is cool. See that? And the portamento on the saxophone is different than, say, the way the cello works. That's a very slow, it's a more smooth portamento. The portamento you hear on the sax is more like the way the reed player would experience the portamento than a string player. And let's see, so the flute, kind of similar. Flute's got an overblow on it that's kind of neat. Now I'm just picking and plucking at this thing, but I can send you a link in the chat window where you could see real guys performing this stuff just to the nines. But I'm just showing you the different sounds. This is that Rhapsody in Blue thing. It's clarinet, and then there's the unloved oboe. For some reason, the oboe is the least popular one.
Is it pressure sensitive?
This device isn't, but if you have like an iPad, was like an iPhone 7, iPhone 8, iPhone 10, I think, those were pressure sensitive. They knocked the pressure sensitivity off at the iPhone 11s and above, which is a shame. Now, the way that works is kind of cool because, see, I was showing you here that you can get like this expression in the Y direction, right? But what on an iPhone with pressure sensitivity, if you would just press in like that, and it'd give you pressure. The aftertouch works extremely well on those devices. The initial attack, it's a little bit funky. I kind of use the force of the first move as opposed to the initial touchdown. It turns out almost nobody, except maybe Pat, can play a note on without moving their finger just a little bit. So that's just a weird little detail about the way those things work. They were never great. I mean, as a piano player, I mean, I don't like hit my key and then move my finger. I just hit the key down. To me, it was annoying as hell. But apparently, most people when they're playing GeoShred, they always move fingers, so you can get a good sounding initial force. This fellow Gerald Peter did just a fantastic iPhone 8 style performance with it. I don't know. It just blew my mind. And that was the amazing thing. There are so many good players out there now, and they can all play it way better than I can. It's like an alternative musical instrument. You kind of need a technique, and you kind of need to think like a guitar player. It's just like a fretboard style layout. So if you're a guitar player, you'll be comfortable soloing with it. If you're not, there's this sort of diatonic button that you could stick on. So I could actually play it back into. So I could just play like I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan or something. Jordan Rudess does an amazing thing. Like he's with Dream Theater. He does it at almost every gig. He'll be jamming on a thing. He'll use his nose to play it. I mean, the point is, it just doesn't matter because it's just diatonic blues scale. So that's another thing that people do with it. So yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, there's just different presets. Oh, well, there's just different presets, right? And every time the middle section will change. And those just reflect what the voice, the patch designer felt like bringing out as the most critical parameters. Now, you can, get in here and do preset design and just sort of, jerk around with things ad nauseum if you want. But no, I can't hear you come through.
Oh, right, Nick. So
Yes.
you said we can schedule a separate session so that we all get tech help to get on JackTrip using GeoShred, right?
If you want, yeah. And
Yeah.
I sent a video
A
link
video.
on how. Actually, that's the best thing to do. Is just here. Here's all the technical support you need. Right over here. Well, yeah, it'll be there. Well, we'll have to look at that, Cynthia. And by the way, thank you, Cynthia, for getting me turned on to this black hole thing. I mean, I know Cynthia's done it, and I'm pretty sure Fernando and Matt have done it. And I'm just so damn busy with so much stuff. It's just like, I don't want to mess with the black hole. So I was doing Mojave for a long time. But this works really well. I think Jan did a video on black hole, but that last link I sent you is a little demo on how to set this whole thing up. And then the second link is the Moforte website where you could see tons of GeoShred versions, or you could just Google GeoShred and you'll see a bazillion things. So just look. Anything else?
No, it's very cool. I would really encourage people to check out the YouTube videos of people performing on GeoShred.
Yeah.
It's really an art in its own right.
It is. And it doesn't have to be in time either. You can play pretty out there, and I encourage you to do so. You don't have to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan. You can play like Chris Chafe if you want. Especially that there's a cello in there. I can't hear you, Chris. I see you making the. There you go. A little quiet. A little quiet. Oh well, I don't know, man. Maybe you should make one. You hear the cello? Harmonics. Yeah, the bow position. And let's see, the portamento. Notice the tacks sound different when you hit lower on the key. Top of the key, it's like a bit pizzicato kind of thing. So there's a bunch of things you can do, and then you could put all the effects in. Please, and oh, by the way, anyone that's interested, just send me an email here, and I'll give you a promo code. Anybody that's here today that wants it, because it's not free. I'm sorry, what? No, but someday I hope to have something like, an external that we could put in pure data and, other places that we can all use more easily, in a max patch or whatever, super collider. But yeah, but for now you can use it as an audio input to JackTrip, as I'm just showing you right here. So yeah. Yes. AUV3, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could use it in GarageBand. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's called Project Catalyst. Yeah. We just, actually, it already works. But, well, no, you can steal the IPA from somebody and run it on your M1 Mac. If you got an M1 Mac, we can try it. Okay. But that's just a bug. That's not going to last very long. I might make it available as we might make it available as a, Project Catalyst thing, but it's just like a marketing question,
Very cool.
All right, thanks.
So Gloria got on JackTrip.
Mm-hmm.
Gloria, can we hear you now? Are you still on? Are you there, Gloria? I know it's kind of late in Vienna. So
Okay,
maybe...
so yeah, I'm there. So one microphone is connected to my audio interface. My audio interface is connected to the Raspberry Pi. And the thing is, when I look at my audio interface, it shows that it receives input, but I can't receive output from my audio interface. So whatever is happening in JackTrip, maybe you hear me, but I don't hear you.
We might be, can you mute on Zoom to see if we can still hear you on JackTrip? Okay, can you say something?
I said something.
No, we didn't hear you on JackTrip. So I think your audio still needs a little work.
Okay, okay.
Make sure that you have your interface selected in QJack control.
How do I check that?
So when you go to QJack, oh, do you have QJack control on the Raspberry Pi?
No.
Okay, so we'll work with you offline to make sure you have QJack control on your Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I think we're going to move on to Alex's presentation.
Okay. So yeah, you just leave me a note how
Welcome,
to install it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm glad you got connected. We'll figure out the audio later, Gloria.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So thanks, Nick. So Alex is a student of James Spinazzola at Cornell, and he has done so much in such a short time. I thought he could come back and show us all what he's done so far in the last, month and a half?
Yeah, some of the stuff is from the summer, while other stuff is just from the past few weeks. even just the past few days. So let's start with the project that we called Live Rehearsal. So I'm going to share my current desktop right now. It's nothing special. So basically I took and I licensed the latest version of Jack Control and made a modification so that we got rid of some of the extra buttons, the transport control buttons, because let me take a step back. So for college students making music as a wind ensemble, this is a very different use case from people out doing GeoShred and having a lot of software synth instruments. So here, Live Rehearsal and my next product are supposed to be for someone who just wants low latency audio and just wants it basically mic and analog only. Like it's just an audio interface and it's just whatever you plug into the audio interface. So basically we made it a bit simpler so that yeah, you have the same setup settings, but then we got rid of a few buttons and yeah, that's basically it, and added a button that launches Aaron Wyatt's JackTrip, and we just keep that up to date, and we have the plugins, and I think at some point this is very similar to 1.3 because I think at some point Aaron put into his branch most of the 1.3 release candidate features. So I have stuff like the jitter buffer, which is very useful because I'm running at 64 frames per period on your 128 server. So it's much appreciated having the lower latency. So basically, and I link to my repo in the chat. So any questions about the live rehearsal part? I'm not completely done. I still want to demonstrate what I've been working on that's this successor to this product. But any questions so far on live rehearsal?
Yeah, Alex, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's very nice. Have you seen Sonobus?
Yes, I have seen that, and they are a competing product, but it seems cool.
Yeah, what you've done is you've made JackTrip a little bit more like Sonobus here. That's very cool. Have you been able to get anybody at Cornell to agree to allow running JackTrip servers, or what are you doing there? What server is that?
Yeah, so the server that I'm connected to is your Linode. Literally, this is the product in use. Mm-hmm. And at Cornell, I don't know how we did that, but we were allowed permission to just run our app on the Cornell IT server farm. So we were running on an 8 vCPU virtual machine, because although there are provisions to have a full dedicated piece of hardware, but our app wasn't we didn't see a need to pay the extra for that. But yeah, basically the main thing that I'm concerned about in an educational setting is, well, I know that Aaron put some basic authentication on the TCP hub server, but still the UDP connection has no encryption and very little access control. So basically my next project is an improved hub server that only uses JackTrip to do the resampling and real-time audio, but the hub server is completely different. but yeah, for FERPA compliance in the university setting, I also am modifying JackTrip to use AES 256-bit CBC mode encryption, since most processors include some sort of cryptographic primitives like that. Might as well do it, and I've gotten good performance from OpenSSL. I just some of the packets must get some bits flipped, so if one bit flips, it fails. So I just need to set that to 0 or what we want. Basically the same thing with dropped UDP packets. I just need to put that into the modified JackTrip. But basically you need a reliable TCP or a reliable secure communication to set and rotate the UDP keys. So basically, my project is sort of bringing JackTrip into something where universities can just tell their IT people, this is the app that we have, this is how to set it up, this is the hardware that you need, and then it works and is compliant, because there are a number of different products. There's also something by Elk Audio, Aloha by Elk Audio, but I don't know if their stuff is open source, but I haven't looked to see if their connection is encrypted. So
good stuff.
So basically, I don't think I'm going to modify the existing JackTrip hub server to accommodate encryption, because there are already some faults with the existing Jack hub server. Also, the existing hub server breaks if you have multiple clients behind the same NAT router, just because of the simple way that we take in the clients. So that's something that my thing fixes. So if there are no further questions on, are there no further questions on live rehearsal? All right, moving on. Hopefully this works. I am going to change cameras. So now that I'm pinned, you should see a Linux desktop now. So basically, LRNet server. So I've kept live rehearsal, but just called it LRNet for arbitrary reasons. But basically, like, I took the UDP hub listener and made it better, so we can start. I took Aaron's stuff for the SSL socket, so we can do that, and then we can start our GUI, and basically it generates 2048-bit RSA public keys for authentication. There's going to be a way to, you have to set up the initial keys. So the idea is maybe IT folks would be able to help set up the first client, and then a musician is able to set up the rest of people for their institutional server. So basically, we have our server going, and then we log in, and then we have some terminology. I'm calling them chefs because of Mike Dickey's project, Music 101.
Oh, you
so
mean
we can
Miller?
Miller Puckett. All the names are about the same. There are so many names involved with JackTrip. So we have a chef window open. Let's open another connection, and basically the idea is you'd have a person with chef permission who's able to control Faust plugins with these here. You have unlabeled pre-gain, post-gain, and these are all parameters that can control a compressor. Basically, the compressor that Julius Smith wrote for JackTrip, I'm able to use that as a plugin and register that as Jack devices. So it's different, I think, from how JackTrip does it internally. Here you'd see a bunch of connections and cue Jack control, because the channel strip is a completely separate Jack client. For whatever reason, if you wanted to, you could record pre-compressor and post-compressor recordings or sends. So basically, there's that. I can't get name updating to work, so if I update my name, I can update my name, but then it zombifies that channel strip. You can see that it's zombified because so you can see this is still pretty raw. So there, another client showed up, and then if I don't change my name, the messages are sent all right, so that they disappear. But basically, one more thing behind the scenes that you aren't going to see yet is switching cameras. So I said at the beginning of this call, it might not be on the recording, but yeah, forget about what I said about trying to use the original JackTrip license. What I want to do is bundle a copy of LiveJack server along with this thing, so then when I distribute a Windows application, maybe static linked with accompanying source, and a macOS bundle, people have one thing that they install on their devices instead of having to install Jack separately. And then what happens if I link to a more recent version? What happens if I link to Jack that's not binary compatible with my app? That opens up a can of worms that I don't want to get into. So just bundling LiveJack server, the only way I can do that is GPL v3, which one other product that this is going to have, hopefully, is live streaming of video. So I've also been able to get decent performance using GStreamer separately from a Raspberry Pi to this, if there's hardware acceleration enabled. So if the client has a proper graphics driver installed, the Pi can give an H.264 stream that is fairly easy to put across the network, and the hub server will handle that. Because what's important if you're in a group, it's important to have the conductor doing their conducting thing for expression. So basically, we provide our own Jack server, and for live video, GStreamer is of course licensable under GPL v3, but Cornell specifically is hoping maybe to use the NDI protocol by NewTek. We have an NDI camera, and but licensing and bundling their gratis but not free library makes it impossible for me to include NDI in the same app and have any sort of complex link between the applications. So that's another challenge, but I've chosen to have that challenge, try to get video nicely going without including NDI in it, because including LiveJack server is very important. And looking into how Jack starts, like how cue Jack control and how you start using the JackD command, there's still some work to be done with dynamically querying the Jack devices for the correct parameters. QJack control is by no means perfect. So basically this is like an alpha product. Hopefully I can get JackTrip going and Key Exchange going. That's all happened in the past few weeks, actually, starting from just JackTrip's UDP Hub Listener class. I built this LRNet project. So that's LRNet. Those are the plans. Any questions about LRNet or anything you missed about live rehearsal?
Can we see video in action?
Video of LRNet in action. That was it. What I was sharing before was in action. I haven't hooked up sound yet. I have sound separately, and the hub server is able to start a dummy version of Jack because hub server doesn't need an audio interface. But I don't have any demonstration because I couldn't get audio working in time.
So, so the video stream and the audio stream are separate.
Yeah. So far, the idea is just going to be this is not a hard real-time system. This is in ECE land, a soft real-time system. So it's just going to be best effort. Don't try and do synchronization, because audio is more important to have low latency than video. And if the video has too much latency, then we'll just turn it off and fly by ear. It's a little harder, but we'll try and make it happen. But I don't think there's a good way for me to sync the streams in real time. But yeah, any more questions?
Here, yeah, this is Chris. I'll turn up both sets of volumes. I don't know where you're listening to audio from right now, so maybe you're getting it on Zoom, or maybe you're getting it on the JackTrip server. Hey, congrats! It's very cool. Really, lovely work. I'm curious where you're running the Faust processes. So what you just showed with the strips, was that on a hub server, or was that off on a edge or an endpoint?
Yeah, so like the GUI strips are run locally, but they are controls to Faust plugins that are run on a hub server.
Okay, yeah, so like OSC, or what are you using for that?
Yeah, so I'm using OSC over TCP.
Okay.
Over encrypted TCP.
Right, so everything's sort of parallel transmission.
Yeah, everything's parallel, and the neat idea here, abstracting away control so much, is if for whatever reason I wanted to, say, put in an FPGA core to process audio, I could do that. And I actually, that's in the next few years I want to do that. So then
you've talked to the Faust people. That's what they're working on.
I actually haven't talked to that yet, but
they have a whole embedded system project now. It's awesome. So, and talk about real time. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, because that's one of the selling points of the Allen and Heath SQ and above series. They, with their FPGA core, they say that they have all parallel DSPs on there. So like I've actually applied to grad school for radio frequency work, but who knows, I might end up doing more embedded system and digital design, because in the end the whole system has RF stuff, because I want to have the backbone so that we can have 5G, so that we can have a little better infrastructure a little more quickly than the time it takes to run fiber cables everywhere, so that people across many many countries can engage in live real-time music making. So that's why I chose RF, because I think we have the digital baseband stuff covered pretty well.
Hey, last question. So you haven't touched the JackTrip packet format?
No, I augmented it. I'm using a different connection mode in the header to signify whether I'm using the A encryption key or the B encryption key. But the structure of the JackTrip packets is identical, including with buffer size. If I'm basically yeah, I haven't changed the JackTrip protocol much at all. Just augmented it a little bit.
Good. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye out for interoperability, and it would be lovely to adopt the key stuff. That's great.
Yeah. So once I have some once I do some use case testing and make sure that it works and is interoperable, I will absolutely make a pull request and see how it integrates with the rest of the library. Additionally, I'm also putting in stuff so that it exports as a library, so that people can link against a dynamic library instead of having to compile JackTrip from source. Because the JackTrip class, it's going to be nice, and someone's going to want to make their own heads to JackTrip, so I feel like that can be my contribution as well.
Yeah, there was a kind of nascent project to libraryify everything, and it was a master's project in Berlin, which is now maybe not going to be a master's project in Berlin. So we still wait for that. There would be a core JackTrip lib that would be exactly what you're saying. You can just start building out. It ain't happening yet. So if you're into it, while you're not doing anything else, RF.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, maybe I did apply to Stanford, so maybe I'll get lucky and have to do a PhD project for this. Although, we'll see. I'm still really interested. I've invested a lot of time in learning RF. I enjoy it.
Spectacular, really cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for showing all this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. That was amazing. And now that we have Chris here, actually, speaking of 5G, do you have anything to share about what the other efforts to get JackTrip on 5G? I know it's a separate project.
There hasn't been much, I think, there've been, folks have used it, just the way they do 4G, as a link, but, there's nothing special going on right now, which what we're dreaming about is, all those telephone poles, they're going to be the, 5G access points with, server stuff moving out of the central cloud more and more towards the telephone pole, little hub servers on your local telephone pole, so, but that's Alex is going to do that for us, so we don't have to worry. It's happening. I love it. While I got the horn though, I'll just tell you the only news I've got is kind of practical, but over the weekend there's a 1.2.2. So just to alert you, there were a couple bug fixes that needed to go in to the stable release. So it just got bumped up a version. It's totally compatible with everything that's already running, but it sort of insulates the hub server from bad actors that who knows what they are, but it was starting to be discovered on some of the Amazon ecosystem that you would get random port scans or something else going on, and it would lock up the hub server into a infinite loop. Aren't those cool? so now it doesn't.
Does that affect? Do we need to know which ports are blocked so we can tell users to?
Yeah, and there's a guard band in there, so it's 4464. Plus and minus 1000, and that's the TCP number. So Everything else is fine, you know. And if you try to connect from outside of that range, it'll gracefully tell you that you're doing something. But basically, it just silently ignores the bad actors. So, and if any problems, God, let me know. You know, but it's just in source. It hasn't. I don't think it's been packaged or anything yet. So.
Yeah, thanks. That's good to know, because when I was troubleshooting, particularly with Gloria, actually, I sometimes found there was a difference if she's waiting for peer on her setup, and we change the bind port to match the server UDP port. Sometimes it makes a difference. She's able to connect when we do that. So just now we weren't able to make things work that way, but it's happened before, where if the server is telling, if the server's UDP port is, you know, 61003, for instance, and on the client side it's waiting for peer. If I tell the client to set the to run on 61003, so the TCP and UDP port matches the server's UDP port, suddenly it starts working. So it's happened a few times in a row where we've succeeded in helping her that way, and it's not 100%. There's a lot going on. So just to let you know, this is one of the things I've been trying, and with this patch, I can't try that anymore. It's just NAT traversal madness.
Yeah, with which patch you can't try it?
Well, just if I understand your patch correctly, I'm not allowed to do bind port 61003.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so it would lie outside of this privileged band. Yeah. So, wow, you have to get to the bottom of why that opens the router. Huh.
So again, it's not 100%, right? And it's one of many things we've been trying with Gloria, but there have been times when it's made a difference.
She doesn't have a double NAT situation, does she?
Gloria, are you still around?
Yes. Okay.
So you have, what is your firewall and NAT setup? And you have a number of layers, right? You have Norton antivirus.
Yeah, so my firewall is Norton. So there's no Windows firewall. It's the Norton. Yeah.
Hey, Gloria, can you hear me on Zoom?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Yeah, the only thing I would first wonder is how complex is your network coming into the location where your computer is. So, the usual thing would be a outside internet service provider, and then a modem, then a router of some kind, and then your computer. Is that the topology that you have, or is that
so I have a terrestrial internet and I have a modem, not now, but I have an Ethernet cable and I connect directly my internet connection with an Ethernet cable to the computer. Sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes not. So
yeah, it'll make a difference in the quality eventually, but just for the connection, you should be able to connect through Wi-Fi also.
Yeah.
But the internet service provider then is the place where the the filtering and the NAT traversal happens, and possibly the source of your troubles. Usually the next tool to use when there's difficulty like this is a utility called iPerf. And so if you can, coordinate this with someone who has access to a server to run iPerf on both sides, on the server and on your computer client, and then independent of JackTrip, checking whether the ports, the TCP ports and the UDP ports are
Yeah.
open as desired. And it's good to have something separate from JackTrip just to see the problem from two sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another thing to note is Gloria was able to connect using her Raspberry Pi just now.
Yeah, it's waiting. I received connection from peer, and then it says UDP waiting too long. But yeah, apart from that, I wrote you in the chat a few things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Take a look.
Yeah. So
Do you get sporadic waiting for peer or waiting too long messages, or?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
then you are connected, and it's
yeah.
not a port problem then on the on the ISP. So it sounds more like it's something going on with the operating system on your computer being closed off to certain ports.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, that's good. You don't need iPerf on a server then.
Yeah, the stupid thing is somehow my audio doesn't work through JackTrip, and I have on the Raspberry Pi I've connected my audio interface and mode 2 M2, and when I check the settings on the Raspberry, there is this button and you can check which audio outputs and inputs are selected. It tells me that my mode 2 is selected, so my Raspberry Pi. And the thing is, and today I installed Jack and JackTrip. I have some kind of installation manual, and the first thing I did is I cloned the JackTrip repo and run JackTrip client with I don't know if it makes sense to tell all the commands. So I typed in, pvd to check, and there was I got /home/pi and so on. And then I typed the command sudo space apt space install space -y space dash no dash install and so on. Do you want to hear the whole command?
No, maybe that's a separate thing outside of a group meeting. That's
Yeah,
stuff. But
and I did all the commands, but the thing is that are required. It's the manual Jane wrote. Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
The next debugging thing to do, I guess you can hear me. The next debugging.
Hi, Nick.
I'm out, guys.
Okay.
I gotta
Thank you
turn the
so
server
much.
off.
Great talk.
Okay.
Bye, Cynthia.
Bye.
Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
No, I was saying goodbye to Nick.
The next thing is actually to just check your audio interface, and you do that with QJack-CTL. So fire it up with the Motu, connect basically the microphone to the loudspeaker locally, and make sure that the audio flows across, and then break the connection and make sure it doesn't flow across, and then your Motu is working properly. You can do that without the network at all. And I actually have to run too. It's yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
For
getting
me, it's
signals.
also late, but yeah, maybe. I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bonnie will tell me. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris, for dropping in and
Great
1.2.2.
Thanks for hosting. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. See y'all on New Year's. Haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you New Year's Eve. Right.
Happy
So
New Year.
party planning. Does anybody have any other questions for Alex before we move on to New Year's Eve?
Bonnie, because I think I will leave soon too. So the thing is, you said You want to know if QJack control is installed. So what I did is follow the, Jane made a kind of installation manual with notes,
Yeah,
and I really
I
followed
think
them
Jane can
step
probably
by
help
step.
you but
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
okay.
follow up with Jane because she's the she's the expert in Raspberry Pi installation.
Yeah, I want to get to on a better level. Yeah, so the thing is maybe so as I understand her manual, there is no installation of QJack control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll follow up with her. Let's do a
Yeah,
separate email thread.
okay. So, or maybe I will just have to experiment with plugging in, plugging out things on the right port. And there are also some possibilities how to route it to the right port. So actually I'm not plugged in the same port as she in the manual, but yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I don't
we'll
I will
start
get in
an
contact.
email thread with Jane. So
Yeah, I will write to her tomorrow, and yeah.
okay, does anybody
Let's see.
else have any more questions for Alex? Well, keep up the good work, Alex, and we'll watch out for the PRs that you're going to issue for the main repo. I'm especially excited about your the encryption work, and yeah, it's very cool that yeah, and even the Faust plugins. I think that would be great too.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, there's definitely some trade-offs between keeping all the modularity that I'm using straight Jack gives versus making this a product that a musician and someone who knows IT but not necessarily Jack can set up and get going quickly and securely. That's my use case rather than trying to get every device in the world to plug in. Although, one other thing, I will eventually try to make a companion app that the Raspberry Pi can run that connects by Bluetooth. So maybe have a graph like QJack control that connects to the Raspberry Pi over Bluetooth, because the cute Bluetooth modules are quite good. I'm learning them for actually communicating with embedded systems, just because it's cross-platform, and that's kind of like what you do aside from learning 3 platforms.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I know I'm hearing from some users who don't have Ethernet access to their routers. So I think Bluetooth would, that's definitely fun.
Yeah, and also there's Bluetooth, and there's also don't use something that doesn't use MDNS, because if you're plugging into an institutional network that doesn't do multicast or doesn't do the .local stuff to set up the virtual studio device, then you're stuck. So having Bluetooth, that's something that doesn't depend on your Ethernet, on your internet connection. That's just stuff. It'll appear eventually.
Great. Yeah, so thank you again for Alex. That was amazing work. And now we're going to move on to party planning. And Nando has set up a 64 virtual core machine for us for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's just a computer. It's the one we're using for weekly jam sessions.
Right, the quarantine sessions.
Yeah.
And so Judy, Yeah, so we're going to be connecting. Judy is going to be one of the people who will be helping. She has an a cappella group. Is it called Octopus?
It's called Spot the Octopus.
Sorry?
Spot the Octopus?
Spot the Octopus?
Spot the Octopus? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, your volume's a little bit low on Jack.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's just because is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Spot the Octopus.
Oh.
We're out of Berkeley, actually. We came out of Decadence from Berkeley.
Cool. So yeah, so you can connect to yeah. So we're going to be celebrating at midnight. Nando, are you coming?
Yeah, I should drop